of the body. Chapter 4. Chapter 4. Page number 8. When passivity of the body takes place, practically means a cessation or stopping of consciousness through the passivity affecting sight, hearing, smell, taste, feeling, etc. Assuming the person to be in normal health, he should be able to focus his eyes on any object he chooses, either for vision or work. And he should have the same control over all the other senses as avenues of knowledge to his mind and spirit. But with all or some of these senses in a passive condition, consciousness becomes dulled or deadened. The believer is unconscious of what he should be keenly alive to and automatic in his actions. Unconscious habits, repulsive or peculiar, are manifested. It is easier for persons in this condition to see these things in others than to know what is going on in themselves. Whilst they may be hyper-conscious of external things touching their own personality. When the passive condition brought about by evil spirits reaches its climax, passivity of other parts of the body may result, such as stiff fingers, loss of elasticity or flexibility of the frame and walking, lethargy, heaviness, stooping of the back and spine. The handshake is flabby and passive. The eyes will not look straight into the eyes of others, but move from side to side, all indicating passivity brought about by deepening interference of the powers of darkness with the whole man, resulting from the first passive condition of the will and mind, in which the man gave up, 1, his self-control, and 2, use of his will.
Wow. What did you think about that, Eric, when you were reading it and deciding you wanted to share that and start it off? Because when you look at the bottom of 80, it says chapter 10 on a bound up spirit. And then it says see chapter 7. So there's other chapters that when you're really studying this book, you need to get into. But what I really gleaned from this years ago, and since you started tonight and you already read this and you've gotten a couple of chapters ahead now, and you brought out some great stuff that you posted on the internet today, or yesterday. It shows people what's really involved here. And one of the things that it proves that this passivity of the body, it's a lot of different functions in our body that start not operating properly. And one of the biggest ones, I think, is the interference with heaviness, the stooping of the back and the spine. The handshake is flabby and passive. The eyes, this is a big one. When we're doing deliverance, I've witnessed it forever, it seems. The eyes will not look straight into the eyes of others. That's why when we're trying to do it on Zoom, I always tell the enemy, I want you to look up into the camera. I want to see your eyes, because I learned that from the passivity of the body. When the passive condition brought about by, and it says by the evil spirits. That's why we rebuked someone years ago because they were thinking it was one spirit, and this proves right here in the second paragraph when the passive condition brought about by evil spirits. It's plural, brothers and sisters. And you know, a lot of people, they just want to call out names. And that's a waste of time if you don't have discernment and you really don't know what you're combating. And then it tells us here, it says the evil spirits reaches its climax, passivity of other parts, because I've got this highlighted, of other parts of what? Our bodies. That's why they flail. That's why they're yelling and screaming. That's why they're trying to bite us with their teeth. That's why they're taking their hands and trying, if you got a tie on or something, they're going to try to choke you. I mean, I've been in all kinds of situations. That's why when I read this all the time, I can go back to live deliverance. And it's the same thing when we're doing deliverance today on people. This is what these people write to us about back at the turn of the century. You mentioned to me today, Eric, that you're really learning a lot about all the word faith and the fake signs and wonders. Most Christians, they run because it's signs and wonders, but you gotta understand the demonic, and they put on a show. I don't care where it is, because so many people manifest, but they really don't get freedom. The demons leave them alone for a day or two. That's why going somewhere and just trying to work it out every so many months. No, you got to be somewhere, and that's what I'm really happy about right now. Is I see a lot of other ministries right now doing deliverance on Zoom, or as when we started the other way. But it's a very important thing for you guys to grasp what I'm talking about here, is because it's right there. It's not just the spirit of passivity. It says it right there to all of us about evil spirits that are operating within, cause us to go into a passive state. And you read it to us from in walking, lethargy, heaviness, escaping the back and the spine. I had that happening today. Also indicating passivity at the end of your read today, Eric, was brought about by deepening interference of the powers of darkness with the whole man, resulting from the first passive condition of the will and the mind. So there's passivity going on in our wills, our minds, and in which it says here, and I've got this highlighted. That's why I'm reading it to everybody. So you learn it, you take it into your hearts that it's not just signs and wonders deliverance. There's a whole story in War on the Saints on how many different ways the enemy operates within believers. You know, I really want to scream when I see these guys that are coming against people that are doing deliverance. Well, the only reason I'm doing deliverance is God showed me it was real, period. And if you get an experience with God that's going to help another individual getting better, it's worth putting it into action. Amen. So the next part, nobody jumped up to read, and I'm going to go to the next part right now, passivity of the whole man. At this stage, every department of the whole being is affected. The man acts without using or using fully the mind, the will, the imagination, reason. That is, without thinking, volitionally deciding, imagining, and reasoning. That means we have to have volition.
on what is right and what is wrong. The affections seem dormant, as well as the faculties of the mind and the body. In some cases, the body needs are also dormant, or else the man suppresses them and deprives himself of food, sleep, bodily comfort at the dictation of the spirits in control, thus carrying out a severity to the body, which is not of any real value against the indulgence of the flesh. Colossians 2, verse 23, which things have indeed a shew of wisdom in will worship and humility, and neglecting of the body, not in any honor to the satisfying of the flesh. So the animal part of the man may also be awakened, the animal part of the man. So while stoical is sensibilities and feeling, be gluttonous in the demand for supply of bodily needs. That is, the machinery of the bodily frame goes on working independently of the control of mind or will. For the body now dominates spirit and soul. Men may live in the human spirit, in the soul, or in the body. For example, the glutton lives in or after the body, the student in mind or soul, the spiritual man in the spirit. Spiritists, an example, are not really spiritual or true men of the spirit, for they live in the sense of realm generally and only have to do with the spirit through the dealing with the evil spiritual forces, through understanding the laws for their workings and fulfilling them. So I want to go to the second subtitle here at the bottom of 81, brothers and sisters. When the believer, why? Because the spirit sense loss in sensations of the body. When the believer is in any degree possessed by evil spirits, here we go again, possessed by evil spirits, and he's addressing believers. He is liable to live in the body, give way to the sensuous, and to be dominated by the physical realm. This can become the case through spiritual experience that's felt in the physical physical frame, but which are not really spiritual, because not from the spirit a sense of fire in the body, glow, thrills, and all exquisite bodily sensations from apparently spiritual causes really feed the senses, and unconsciously to themselves. While thou have these experiences, believers live in the sense realm, practically walking, listen to this, family, after the flesh. Though they call themselves spiritual, for this reason, the Apostle Paul I keep under my body, 1 Corinthians 9:27, which teaches us in the Word of God, but I keep under my body and bring it into subjection, lest that any means, when I have preached to others, I myself may be a castaway, is practically impossible in demon possession, even in its most refined or weakest degree, because the sense life is aroused in all kinds of ways, and sensations of the body are forced upon the consciousness of the man. The spirit sense is practically lost in the acute realization of all the senses and the bodily conscience. A man, for example, in normal health is oblivious of the physical action of breathing going on in his physical frame. In like manner, a believer under the diminish or a denomination of the Spirit ceases to register his bodily sensations. But the opposite in the case is when evil spirits have gained footing. And that's important. Okay. They gain footing and awaken the life sense, the sense life to abnormal action, either by beautiful experiences or the contrary. And this is important in this next bottom paragraph on page 82. The cultivation of these conditions of passivity may be ignorantly and seducedly carried out for the years by the surrendered believer. In other words, you can have this passivity going on for years, so that it deepens its hold upon to an incredible extent until when he reaches its consummation, the man may become so under the bondage of it as to awaken to his state, and he thinks that natural causes alone explain his condition, or else in some accountable way his acute sensitiveness to God and divine things has become dulled beyond power of restoration or renewal. And it teaches us here the physical feelings become deadened or atrophied, which means the thinning of our muscles, and the affections seem petrified, which causes people not to move, be terrified, be in fear, and stoical. This is a time, brothers and sisters, when the deceiving spirits suggest that he has grieved God beyond repair, and a man goes through agonies of seeking the presence he thinks he has grieved away. So the cultivation of passivity may come about from reliance upon the many helps that are contrived unknowingly by the person to counteract or obviate the inconvenience of being in a passive state, such as the provisions of and dependence upon. Outward helps to the eye for existing the passive memory. Utterance in speech to exist the thinking of the passive mind, and what may be termed crutches. You know what you need when you got a crutch, you got to lean on something else. Sometimes it's our thoughts, known only to the individual, elaborately constructed and multiplied to meet his different needs, but all keeping him from recognizing his true condition, even if he has the knowledge for doing it. And I want to read the rest of, very interesting here, the rest of page 83 to the bottom, because it talks about the manifestations of influence of evil spirits called natural idiosyncrasies. But this truth about the working of evil spirits among believers and the causes and symptoms of their power upon mind or body has been veiled in ignorance, that multitudes, you got to hear this, family, multitudes of children of God are held in bondage to their power without knowing it. In other words, you're under the bondage of evil spirits and you're a Christian and you don't know it. The manifestations are generally taken as natural idiosyncrasies, or people say infirmities. The Lord's work is put on the side or never taken up because the believer is overstrained, or else without the gifts for doing it, he is nervous, timid, has no gift of speech, no power of thought, where the service of God is concerned, but in the social sphere, these deficiencies are forgotten and the timid one shines out the best. It does not occur to them to ask why. It is that only in God's service are they incapable, with a question mark to us. But it is only in respect to such a service that the hidden workings, listen to this, family, of Satan interfere. And the final thing here, and I will continue in part 2. I'm going to break this in 2 parts today. God bless you all. Thanks for listening.